ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. Now today we're going to be taking a look at none other than the ToysWorks Messiah figure. Now before we begin, I want to let you know this is a third-party unlicensed product. That means ToysWorks, the company who made this piece, doesn't actually hold the intellectual property rights to produce this version of Neo, because that's technically what this is supposed to be. Neo from The Matrix 2 in his more priest-like outfit, if you will. Now, I did pick up mine from toyswonderland.com. I have included the link down in the description below just for your reference purposes only. This is a product that I purchased with my own money that's available on the open market. Also, while you're down in the description, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon so you're notified as soon as brand new Hot Toys, third party, or indeed sideshow content goes live on the channel. Either way, what we're going to do now is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. And here we have the box art for the ToysWorks Messiah. Now, as you can see, it does have this sort of holographic effect, an image of Neo on the front of the box there with Messiah printed up front. You can also see the sort of Matrix effect in the background. I kind of like how subtle but also very obviously Neo this picture is on the front. Now, you can see there's some sort of image on the side there. I can't actually quite make out what that's supposed to be, but something is definitely there, and of course more Matrix style text floating, and of course ToyWorks on the back. Now let's get this guy out here. I've been collecting pretty much the entire line of the ToysWorks Matrix figures. I'm so glad that a company is actually going ahead and producing all of the figures that Hot Toys won't. We've of course got the Morpheus, we've got the Agent Smith most recently, this guy now, and I do believe two different versions of Trinity, so I can't wait to review her when she eventually gets released. Now let's take a look at Neo himself. First impressions, not all that bad. However, the likeness, yes, actually does appear to be a little bit funky. I don't know what is quite off about it. Owen, in the admin team over at 6 Scale Network, did say that this kind of looks like the CGI version of Neo, and yeah, it kind of does. It looks a little bit soft in the details. Maybe you might actually consider picking up a third-party Neo head sculpt. There is one available at Toys Wonderland by JX Toys that kind of looks like a recast of the Hot Toys one, which in and of itself is a little bit naughty, but might upgrade this figure quite significantly. But either way, we'll set him aside and take a look at all of this other stuff. So as you can see, a couple of accessories, of course the glasses, but these look absolutely destroyed. I don't know why they are so warped. Don't worry, I will heat them up and see if I can form them to the head sculpt, and you'll see that a little bit later in the video. But of course, hands and the display base. Either way, what we're going to do now is get all of this stuff laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. And here we have all of the accessories that come with the ToysWorks Neo from Matrix 2. Now let's take a look at the display base first. As you can see, it's identical to the one that we got with Morpheus and of course the Agent Smith. And I love that it's showing some really nice consistency throughout the line. I hope Trinity, both versions, get this exact same display base. I love the Matrix style sort of text in the background. Unfortunately, mine though has a bit of a delamination issue where the sticker, the top layer, is kind of peeling off. I do wish, however, that Hot Toys had given us these brand new rectangular style display bases with their official Matrix 1 Neo instead of that huge diamond style display base that we did get with him. I really don't like those overly large style stands. Now, unfortunately, you can see no nameplate, but of course, someone like Kevin Gossett might be able to sort of etch you one in some metal so you can stick it on the front of your Neo's display base. Now, let's take a look at his weapons. His Sai, he only comes with 2 weapons, unfortunately, but they are die-cast, which is of course a huge bonus for a lot of people, me included. I love how they look. They're pretty basic though, no paint pretty much at all. They're just cast in this sort of gunmetal style color, and you can see that the detail is still sculpted in, but again, no paint whatsoever. They will definitely get the job done though. Now, he does come with one final little accessory piece, being of course his glasses. I've managed to heat treat mine, heat them up under some hot water, then pop them on the head sculpt, and this is kind of the shape I've ended up with. They look a little bit wide based on the arms themselves, but don't worry, they do fit on the head, and you'll see that throughout the course of this video. Now, of course, he does come with a couple of hands. He comes with 4 interchangeable ones and 2 that are already on the body, so 6 in total. They are sculpted and painted fairly decently. They are more on the basic side of 1/6 scale hands, not all that much detail, a little bit waxy, but again, they'll get the job done. Either way, what we're going to do now is get Neo himself out here and take a closer look. And here we have Neo himself standing straight up and down the lightbox, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that, and I have to say, he looks pretty darn good. Simply standing there, he has a nice silhouette, the body proportions all look pretty much on point, including the head sculpt itself. At a distance, it looks perfectly serviceable, but we'll see if it's any good when we zoom in just a second. Now initially, I thought the robes were going to be a total pain to work with, but no, they aren't. They're actually really surprisingly nice, and you'll find out why in just a second. So, without further ado, why don't we punch in and take a closer look at the details. And here we have the ToysWorks Neo up close and personal, and I have to say, that likeness with the glasses on I think is surprisingly worse than with them off. I don't know what they were thinking. These glasses simply don't work. When you take them off, however, I think that likeness does improve. Is it as spot on as the Hot Toys one, which a lot of people don't actually think is all that spot on? No, I don't think so. You can see the sculpt I think is a lot more accurate. The detail, the paintwork, it's exceptional on the Hot Toys figure, whereas on the ToysWorks one, it isn't awful. Don't get me wrong, it's not totally awful, it's not a complete write-off, but if you were thinking about doing the third-party head sculpt route, I definitely wouldn't be one to tell you not to do that, because I think it could drastically improve this figure. This, already out of the box, is pretty good, but in my opinion, it can be improved upon. Now, the outfit itself, it's nicely done, it's made out of a nice fabric, and I do like the fact that it hugs the body, especially on the arms. Will that hinder articulation? Well, we'll see a little bit later in the video. He is actually wearing a black long sleeve shirt underneath this outer robe. Is this removable? I kind of don't think so. It appears to be sewn up the top here, so I don't think it can come off. Not that you'd really want to, unless you want to do some sort of custom version of Neo, but either way, I'm still really liking the outfit and everything else on this Neo. That head sculpt, though, is still a bit of a question mark in my books. Now, just quickly, I thought I'd show you, for those wondering, what the Hot Toys head sculpt looks like on the ToysWorks body. Is it an improvement in the likeness department? Yeah, I think it is. As you can see, it's a huge improvement. Paintwork, sculpt, the works, but I think it's slightly big. This smaller framed body doesn't really work with this head sculpt. It looks a little bit bubble-headed. That's unfortunate. Can you pose him in a way that kind of makes it disappear with the action style posing? Yeah, probably, but out of the box in a neutral style stance, I don't think this is going to work. From some angles, like right there, yeah, it kind of does, the illusion is there, but from front on, I think it looks slightly too big. Panning the camera down to give you a closer look at the rest of Neo's outfit. As you can see, it does have this sort of outer robe style thing that you can move out of the way, and one of the key benefits here is this thing is entirely wired. On the front, around the edges, you can get it into some really awesome style poses, with this flowing in the wind as he's sort of moving through and attacking the Agent Smiths, if you do have, in fact, more than one. But either way, you can see his business style slacks underneath, and there are some nice black socks. That is surprising. I didn't actually expect them to do that, but it really does sort of create this seamless look between the top, the pants, and of course the shoes themselves, which are just straight up business style shoes. They're very glossy, and I don't really love the way they look, but they will get the job done quite nicely. There is some tread on the underside there. I wouldn't be surprised if these were just generic shoes out of the ToysWorks part bin, which is totally fine. You won't really be seeing the shoes most of the time. You'll be having the robe sort of down, and the focus will be, I'm sure, on Neo himself. As for the texture on the robe, as you can see, it does continue throughout, but for some reason, the buttons on this side are sort of over here, whereas on this side, they are on that side. Of course, it would make sense when they're done up, and you'd have it sort of peeking through, but I don't know what I would have preferred, having the buttons all here so it's uniform. This is kind of messing with my OCD. Don't worry, I know, it makes sense. When the buttons are done up, they'd show up over here, but still, it's just messing with me, and I don't know which I'd prefer. Let me know down in the comments below if you like the way they've done this, or if you'd like the buttons to be on the other side. And now, of course, kicking off the side-by-side comparisons, here we have the ToysWorks Neo on the left compared to the Hot Toys Neo on the right. You've already seen what the Hot Toys head sculpt looks like on the ToysWorks body, but here they are standing side by side. The height isn't too much of a disparity between the two. The ToysWorks figure is slightly smaller, maybe a few millimeters, and that doesn't really throw off the entire look, because technically you can have him posed in a dynamic way, you won't even notice the height, but what you will notice is the quality difference in the sculpt, and of course the hands. Is this ToysWorks Neo absolutely awful? No, I don't think it is. I can see the likeness, I can see what they were going for, and hell, if you don't have the Hot Toys Neo, you might be perfectly content with the ToysWorks one being the only one on the shelf. It's like that old thing, when you're in a TV store and you're looking at a 4K one right next to a, 1080p screen, you clearly see the 4K one looks better, but when you get home, pop the 1080p one on the wall, and you kind of have nothing to compare it to, it's not all that bad. I know, a bit of a weird way to put it, but still, it's that same thing. On its own in isolation, I think this ToysWorks one could very well be a really nice Neo for your collection, but compared next to the Hot Toys one, I really do prefer sculpt, paintwork, detail, outfit, accessories, everything on the Hot Toys figure. And now here we have the Agent Smith from the very same line by ToysWorks alongside their Matrix 2 Neo. This works perfectly. I love the way this looks. The scale looks a hell of a lot better. The details do match in the clothing, in the shoes, in the outfit, and of course the head sculpts themselves. They do have that same level of sort of that softer style to them, which isn't all that bad, but really does pale in comparison, in my personal opinion, to Hot Toys. But these two standing together, I think work perfectly fine. And for the final side-by-side comparison, here we have ToysWorks' Morpheus standing alongside their Neo. Do these work good together? Yeah, I really think they do. And if you're building out a line of just ToysWorks' own figures for Matrix, this will work really nicely. But that being said, I do think the Morpheus is by far the best in the line so far. Detail on point, outfit on point, accessories also really nicely done. I'm super impressed with their Morpheus. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out that review because that figure is absolutely sensational and can easily stand alongside the Hot Toys Neo, but he can also just as easily stand alongside this one. Just going over articulation on Neo from Matrix 2. Now, bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure. I've paid for it with my own money, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. When you get yours in hand and you want to push the joints a little bit further than I'm willing to go, that's totally fine, but as I said, I'm going to be a little bit more wary. Now, let's start off with the head sculpt itself. As you can see, just like their Morpheus and Agent Smith, it's a fixed neck design, but that doesn't mean you're not getting a bunch of range of motion. As you can see, back as far as you'd like. Forward, it's a little bit more restricted, but that's pretty much fine if you ask me. You have some tilt and also, of course, some swivel. Now, the arms themselves are pretty much unrestricted all the way up, and of course, all the way forward. They are on ratchets, though, so that means that they are going to hold a pose if you do want to have him in some crazy action poses. This is, of course, Neo, so that totally makes sense. He does also have that butterfly-style joint, swivel at the bicep, which is actually exceptionally stiff, but that's also a good thing. You do have a double bend at the elbow. That's a real bonus, so when you do have him in some sai-wielding poses, of course, he does come with the sai, you can have him sort of with his arms all the way bent up. That's a huge plus, and of course, a 1/6 scale wrist joint at the hand itself. Now, the body is, again, pretty much unrestricted. It's all fabric, which really works quite nicely for this figure. You do have a bend forward, and it does click into place. You do have a bend back as well, which is slightly more hindered due to the longer nature of the actual outer robes. You'd also have a pivot and a swivel side to side. Now, you can move these out of the way so we can get a look at the leg articulation. Going forward, again, pretty much unrestricted. Same thing going out, as you can hear it squeak, although the pants do get a little bit hindered, but you can push them up and then move them up pretty much all the way. That's some full splits right there. You'd also have a swivel at the upper thigh and a ratcheted, very, very stiff double bend at the knee itself. Now, down to the feet, they are on some business-style shoes, but the joint is very nice and stiff. You've got some pivot, and you also have some forward and back as well. Just wrapping up on the Matrix 2 ToysWorks version of Neo. Now, before I give you my final thoughts on this guy, I just want to say I commend ToysWorks for sticking it out and pretty much trying to do as many of the main Matrix characters as possible. Without them, we wouldn't have a Morpheus, an Agent Smith, or this version of Neo, let alone the two versions of Trinity that I've seen online. So I want to commend them for their efforts. Now, that being said, this figure, unfortunately, I don't think meets the standards that they've set with the previous two releases. I had my issues with Agent Smith, yes. The fact that they recast the Hot Toys head sculpt, but also kind of shrank it down, didn't really work for me. But with all of that being said, I don't know why they didn't recast the Hot Toys Neo head here. It would have served this body better, and if they'd shrunk it down like they did with the Agent Smith, I think it would have worked quite nicely. Now, I'm not condoning the recasting behavior, nobody freak out. You're gonna have to make up your own mind on what you think about recasting, but at the very least, they could have tried that and seen how it works. This guy still, though, with all of that out of the way, he still looks fairly decent. The outfit is great, don't get me wrong. The only thing that I think that lets this figure down is the head sculpt. If you do go ahead and switch it out for the Hot Toys one or even another third-party Neo head sculpt that I've seen around on the markets, then maybe it could make this the perfect Matrix 2 Neo, but as it stands, in my personal opinion, he does need some work. He does look really good though in a dynamic pose, and the diecast size are a real bonus. I also do love the display base that they've been using throughout their entire line of Matrix figures, far better in my opinion than the Hot Toys display base that comes with their version of Neo. Now this guy is a third-party unlicensed figure. That means that the company ToysWorks doesn't hold the intellectual property rights to actually go ahead and make this figure, but they did it anyway, and if you do want to pick it up, I purchased mine from toyswonderland.com. This isn't a promotional video or anything like that. This is just a review on a product that I've purchased with my own money, and I have included the link down in the description below just for your reference. So while you're down in the description, if you feel like coming along and chatting about figures and sharing photos of your collection, why not check out 6 Scale Network? It's a brand new awesome Facebook group. You can do all of that stuff and more, and also see what's coming up next on the channel. Either way, that's about it for this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.